point of no return. We go up 2 more degrees Celsius in our average temperature on the globe. The Earth will be here, but we will not be living here in the same ways that we're used to. What will raise the Earth by 2 degrees? Burning 565 gigatons of fossil fuels. Right now we have 2,795 gigatons of fossil fuels owned and identified and on the balance sheets of the major fossil fuel companies in the world. That's what they have. They own it. They've invested in it. They're planning on burning it. It's still in the ground right now, but it's in the pipeline. The size of the issue and how much runway we have to turn things around. Here I am years ago with older panels. We've been around for 15 years. Third Sun and Utility, we consult on energy, we do the engineering, we get the equipment, we do the construction. Utility is a sister company that does develop projects, finances projects, owns and operates projects. An example of this would be the system on the library. We're up to about 600 projects now over 12 states. We're nationally recognized. NABCEP is the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, but it is a professional group, like doctors policing themselves. NABCEP is a group of energy practitioners policing ourselves, holding ourselves to a high standard, and so people can trust the NABCEP brand. We're recognized by Inc. magazine and Green America, plenty of other great groups. And then we're a certified B Corp. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on.
Jeff, don't worry about having to go real fast.
Oh, I'm talking slow right now. Okay, good. So the Wayne National Forest that we drive by up and down the highway, that's an example of a high visibility project that we've done. There's a picture of some of our employees. We actually just recently moved from the Innovation Center. We're part of an OU incubation. We started in our attic at our house, off the grid. Current location out on 56. So there's an example of a project we did up in Akron. There's an example of an agricultural project that we've done that's about 8.6 kW. And there's an example of a residential project that we've done. It's just right up the road. Beautiful array.
Sarah's a member now.
Well, they're early adopters and leaders, and they put solar on their residence, they put solar on their business. And again, solar is contagious, as you all know. So it's not just about your electric bills, your carbon footprint, your house. It's about showing the world what can be done. It's fantastic. We've got another very high visibility array at the Village Bakery. At least thousands of people have seen. So we are a member of Amicus. Again, for 15 years now, we've been talking about solar with our peers around the country, coming together at conferences and trainings, building the industry up and doing our jobs better. So we formed a cooperative called Amicus. The yellow states are states that are covered by the cooperative. Last year, we did $300 million worth of solar. So that puts us as one of the largest installers in the country. We are similar to Ace Hardware, surviving in a world of Lowe's and Home Depots. We have decided that by banding together, we can survive against the big box solar companies and provide local, customer-focused service and also create jobs and keep doing what we love to do in a world that's quickly changing. Walmart solar is happening and squeezing out the mom and pops and the smaller local companies.
But Amicus is a cooperative?
Yes. So I'm an owner of Amicus, and I have an equal voting share along with the other 33 members. We have 2 face-to-face annual meetings, which are fantastic collaborations. It's like a 4-day retreat, lots of training and inspiration. I've learned what the best practices are, and then we also have online collaboration monthly. Hopefully this logo will become very well known and something that everyone will understand, but right now it's still relatively new. I think in Ohio there's about 16 certified B corporations. In California there's hundreds. Just like with the green building, many people can say, hey, it's a green building, and there's nothing to tell a consumer or a building owner, is this really green or a little green or a lot of green or pseudo green? So leadership for efficiency and energy efficient design. Anyway, the architects and the design professionals and the engineers said, we need to come up with a standard. So they've got LEED Gold, LEED Platinum. Everyone's heard of LEED, right? And it's become a huge tool so that when someone says, we're going to do a green building, well, third party measures it, scores it on lots of different criteria, and says, yes, this is indeed a LEED building. Similar to that, companies that were practicing triple bottom line organization. Wanted to use business as a force of good, a force of social change, a force for environmental stewardship. Patagonia walks their talk with regards to recycling, how they treat their employees. Cliff Bars, that ice cream company, Jenny's, splendid ice cream. So if you can afford it, it's really delicious. It's more expensive to use local ingredients and to treat your employees well and to do good by the earth. Those companies were doing triple bottom line business, people, planet, profit, for years and years. They've gotten together with lots of other similar companies and formed this certification. So we have an outside company audit us, basically check on our claims about what we do, from employee democratic decision-making, through recycling, through carbon offsets for our vehicles, all the different things that we do to make us a triple bottom line company. We've actually had an outside company certify us. So that's what a B Corporation certification is. You could be a dentist, you could be a lawyer, you can be a solar installer. Hopefully there'll be more and more B Corps. AceNet is actually out there helping folks understand how they could become B certified and some of the advantages of B certification. From my perspective, there's two main advantages. All the consumers out there that are deciding if they want solar, they can understand if they do solar with us that we adhere to certain business practices that probably are in line with their values. As this world of clean energy accelerates rapidly, we're going to be fighting for employees. We're going to be trying to get the very best, smartest, most motivated employees out there, and in some cases trying to get them to relocate to Athens. And that the war for talent and recruitment and retention and motivation, we believe that being a B Corp gives us an advantage over someone who might or might not be doing some of these things but hasn't taken the next step to get certified. So hopefully there'll be more and more B Corps. And in fact, AceNet, an organization at AceNet, I'm not sure which part of AceNet, is actually out there helping folks understand more about why they, or how they could become B certified and some of the advantages of B certification. Personally, from my perspective, there's two main advantages. Number one is all the consumers out there that are deciding if they want solar, they can understand if they do solar with us that we adhere to certain business practices and that probably are in line with their values. And then number two, as this world of clean energy accelerates rapidly, we're going to be fighting for employees. We're going to be trying to get the very best, smartest, most motivated employees out there, and in some cases trying to get them to relocate to Athens. And so in the war for talent and recruitment and retention and motivation, we believe that being a B Corp gives us an advantage over someone who might or might not be doing some of these things but hasn't taken the next step to get certified. Yeah, Randall.
What does B mean?
Yeah,
does the B
Benefit.
Okay.
So the concept is it's a public benefit, a social benefit. And there's lots of jargon around social entrepreneurship and whether or not we can solve society's problems by having a government program and legislation. Who here is expecting any progressive legislation in the next couple of years?
Not in this administration.
We can do stuff locally, thank goodness, but I'm not getting excited about anything coming out of Washington. And in fact, I'm not patient enough. Sadly, business and big business and corporate business is too often a part of the problem. Village Bakery, for example, is organized as a for-profit business to show people that business can be a force for good. Third Sun, similarly. Patagonia, similarly. Right now, if I decide that I want to run our delivery trucks on biodiesel because it's the right thing to do for the planet, I could be sued by my shareholders for not maximizing short-term profit.
Right.
The way corporate law is written right now, there's only one measure of success. Single bottom line. And so if a decision maker says, yes, but I want that, but I also want to be the right steward of my planet or in my community, they don't have a defense. B Corporation certification is one step. Another step is to actually incorporate as a different corporate form, a B Corporation.
I see the difference here, that the B Corp legal form, forming as a B Corporation as opposed to C, is that, I thought that was not legal in Ohio yet.
has been passed in Ohio, so it's
Oh.
legal in Delaware, and it's legal in
Okay.
Ohio and several other states. Lots of paths to the top of the mountain. All right, so some things that have really changed in the world of solar. When I started, there was not net metering in Ohio. It was not legal yet to net meter, to work in harmony with the utility grid. So we had to use batteries. And then I subsequently lived off the grid with batteries, I guess 18 years. I can tell you all the reasons why batteries are inefficient and a pain in the butt and a barrier to widespread adoption of solar. Before net metering, when you had to use batteries, there was like about 40 systems in all of Ohio. When net metering came online and we had the ability to have easy, automatic, efficient, and reliable electronics in solar systems, that's when it took off across the country and across the world. We still do batteries in certain situations, but most people's outcome, what they really want, is they want clean energy, and they want to make it locally. Technology today is easy, you don't have to worry about it, it's transparent, it's automatic, it turns on, turns off, sends you an email, it's efficient. When my first system went in, I would capture 1,000 watts from the sun for every 200 watts I was using in my house. 20% efficient, largely because of going through the batteries and the weakness of trying to fill up a battery. Once the battery is full, my system's not capturing anything. It's 0% efficient. So today, I capture 1,000 watts on my roof. I get 970 watts in my house. 97% efficient. Smarter and faster and cheaper. And then reliable. No one wants to sign up for something that's not going to work. So our systems today are designed around a 25 to 30-year design life, and a reason why people are signing up. They don't want to use their scarce resources or take out a loan for something that might go kaput.
The derecho that hits and we're out of power for 10 days, and even the solar people, we're out.
Sure. What do we want? Are we spending our money for clean energy and the most clean energy possible? Or are we spending our money for backup power? And if so, what kind of backup power? We do have plenty of people that want backup power. There's two flavors. There's folks that say the grid will go down for a couple days during an ice storm, and then there's the zombie apocalypse is coming, and I gotta keep my ammunition and my ice cream cold, and it's an interesting dynamic. There's a lot of people in that world. We basically walk through the house and look at the loads and find out what it is people want to back up, and then give them a very accurate, experience-based and an engineering-based appraisal of what it would cost to do that. More often than not, customers end up buying a propane or natural gas-fired automatic generator if they really want backup. If your solar system is your backup, it's only as good as the battery bank. We usually will have a house that has heating, central heating, even if it's gas heating, that fan going 24 hours a day, or a duty cycle of maybe 18 hours a day, eats through those batteries really rapidly. Your fridge, maybe a backup well pump, and your heating will empty a battery bank 1 to 3 days. And if it's a 10-day ice storm, which we've all been through, your solar system's not going to do anything for you. The batteries are empty, the solar is covered with snow, it's a gray day anyway, you'd be better off with a backup generator.
So you help people sort through the options.
Yep.
And
Sometimes it's a hybrid. Some people want to have the solar and the generator. Some people solar only. And in fact, we've got systems now, our typical system out of the box, that's battery free and generator free. It still provides backup power straight from the inverter to a single outlet that can power something during the sunshine portion of the day. So that even without spending money on batteries, you can have a limited amount of power to get your cell phone running, charge a laptop. We've had customers run fridges on them, etc. But then at nighttime, it's not on, and if it's a cloudy day, you get 15% of the power that you get on a sunny day. But it's free, it's included. So that's a step in the right direction. Microgrids are an example of some of this grid reliability. During Hurricane Sandy, a community on Long Island, where everyone else went out and was out of power for a long time, they stayed on. They had basically rewired their grid to be a microgrid where they had their own generators. They didn't have a large part of renewable energy, but renewable energy is part of this in some places like military bases, some small eco resorts in Mexico and Hawaii. There's ways that microgrids can be part of this reliability and redundancy, and their power outages is a factor. So people ask me, hey, yeah, you do solar, it probably works in Arizona, but what about in Ohio? So this is the most solar resource per year, and then Alaska, the least. So you can see here we are in Ohio. It's median. It's around 1,200 kWh per kW per year. Not quite half, but maybe about 40% of the very best in the world. Surprisingly, we're probably about 75% of the solar resource of Florida, a place that we all think of as being real sunny. To put it in perspective, here's Germany with the same color scale. Germany is the #1 solar economy in the world. At times they get 100% of their power from renewables, sun and wind. Their biggest issue right now is balancing with the grid. The recent solar eclipse was a big worry for them because they depend so much on that they have to plan around the weather and solar eclipses and such. So if they can do it in Germany with that solar resource, we can do it everywhere in North America. These are just some pictures of different systems. That's an example of some inverters that are tied together. It can be modular. There's a system in Cincinnati, a system in Kentucky. So this is an example of a larger inverter, big enough for 700 kW worth of solar. So the project that we're working on at the landfill, possibly Albany, but probably at the landfill, will probably have 4 inverters that size. More solar. You can barely see it, but there's solar up on a parking garage up in Cleveland. Big solar ground mounts. Another perspective of solar ground mount. And this right here is probably about 600 kW. Plan for the Athens project is 3,000 kW. More ground mount. This is in Germany. This is an example of the stuff that they're doing out there where, again, you've got acres and acres. This is probably around 6,000 watts or 6 megawatts. Carports, we've got our own example of a beautiful carport down in the rec center. Curved roofs, this is a National Guard base that we did in Kentucky. This is actually the first net zero building on any military campus. Moving from the technology, I do a lot of presentations to school groups, and I ask 4th graders, where does electricity come from? Many of them point to the outlet. Unfortunately, I've also presented at state houses. They also point to the outlet. Some of them are a little bit more thoughtful and know that the outlet is connected to a power plant. Many don't know what the percentage of coal versus gas or oil or nuclear is. If this is the way that our utility infrastructure was built, we created this, we harnessed this amazing electrical power. It's very useful. I enjoy using it every day, I'll admit it. We didn't think too hard about the implications, and we built central plants and we gave away a monopoly utility business model to get the plants built and to get the wires strung. Said, we want to be safe and reliable, and we'll let you make as much money as we tell you you can make. We know that you have to pay back your investors, and we'll regulate you as a regulated monopoly. And so there's no innovation, and there's certainly not much customer service. Do you know what you all are called in the eyes of utility folks? I call you customers. She is my customer. We've installed solar at her house. She's my customer. I care what, if without her, I'm nothing. You all are ratepayers. Let that sink in. You will pay the rate that we charge you. If you want to invest in energy, you could buy stock through Wall Street in one of these. Who here owns stock in a utility company? Raise your hand. You probably is the key word. Who here has an insurance policy? Who here has any money in any kind of bank account, even the credit union? Who here has an OU job or an OU retirement account? You're all owners of utility power. You all indirectly, you're not direct certificate owners, but through all these mechanisms, we all own shares in the utility. We're all benefiting from the dirty energy model that we decry. So that's why some of these divestment campaigns are pretty powerful. We're disrupting this top-down model. So we've been talking about microgrids. really, what we used to have is a central power plant, a grid, and a energy user, a ratepayer, and they would do whatever we told them. We'd send them the bill, they'd pay us the money, and that was the way it is. We'd make as much power as the regulators let us get away with, make as much money, and pollute as much as they let us pollute. That's the old way. The new way is electric cars, demand-side management, merchant power plants on a large scale, solar based on a small scale, net metering, efficiency, outside investors investing in efficiency, power parks where this person sells to this person and bypasses this. That's the world we're living in right now, and it's opening up innovation, and it's got a big part of solar and clean energy and wind energy and lots of models. It's disruptive. It's also triggering an investment boom. Google has lots of smarts, and they're doing lots of cool stuff with technology. They're also the third largest investor in clean energy in North America. They own solar power plants because they believe that that's a smart way for them to give money back to their shareholders, help their brand, and have consumers alive in the next 100 years. We've got Spain, China, Great Britain, Brazil. The world is investing in clean energy, continuing climbing amount of investment going to clean energy. Again, the trend is upwards. It's either solar, wind, efficiency, hydro. There's lots of climbing investments in clean energy.
So with all this money flowing out of big energy's coffers, surely they're not going away quietly. I've heard rumors about different restrictions they're trying to get laws passed. How worried are you about losing your net metering or possibly having other restrictions put on us consumers?
After I talk about the utility debt spiral.
Oh.
Doesn't that sound exciting? Consumers, the formerly known ratepayers, but really the energy users, are demanding something different. And investors are saying, hey, we can actually work with you to make something different and get away from that status quo. On the supply side, we're getting some serious disruption. But here's what's happening. This is from 1950 to present day and projected out to 2040. The demand for new utility power is going down. For years and years, it's going up. Let's build new plants. People are using more power. They're doing more and more stuff with power. But the reality is that right now, the demand growth is going down. And of course, there's also people that are doing some silly stuff like solar energy and saying, we're not going to buy power from you, we're going to make our own. So that demand reduction forces the utilities to raise their rates. They still have big power plants to pay for, debt to repay, grids to maintain and upkeep, lots of people to pay on their salary. Faced with that, they have to charge the folks that are still buying a higher amount. When your rates go up, you're more motivated to leave the grid. How economic is it to go solar? You don't care about the year. Pretend you don't care about the year. You're just primarily driven by your electric bill. If you're paying 5 cents a kilowatt hour, it's not that terrible. If it's gone up to 10 cents, you're starting to take notice. When it's at 15 cents, holy cow, this solar stuff, I'm going to get on board before it goes to 20 and 25 to see which way this is going. This is all the utilities have been talking about for the last 2 years. For a long time, solar and clean energy and efficiency were something kind of like small little pesky hippie stuff in the woods. We can ignore it. It's not going to affect us. Now they're on their heels. They're realizing how big of a deal this is. Demand's not necessarily going down, but the rate of its increase, right now, it's increasing at 2% a year because there's still more humans, there's more middle-class people buying TVs, more teenagers leaving everything on. This is just North America. Back in 1950, we were growing at 11% a year. They're not keeping up with inflation. In fact, as the population grows and we only grow our energy use by 2%, that actually shows negative growth. So faced with this, the Edison Institute, which is kind of like the think tank and spokesperson or the amicus of the big utilities, has basically said, hey, this is a serious threat, we've got to undermine it, we've got to attack it, we've got to create fake grassroots groups. They're doing that in Arizona right now. We've got to create fake wedge issues. They're using basically our natural affinity for egalitarian and class support. They're saying that solar is for the elite and the rich. And in fact, when someone goes solar, they're actually stealing from low-income people.
That was the so-called driver for putting our efficiency and renewable standards on ice.
So-called, yes.
That's what they were
So
saying.
that was that's one of the talking points that, again, millions of dollars with marketing firms, focus groups, figuring out what issues will work and creating fake grassroots campaigns, spending tons of money in defensive mode. And one of the biggest things that they're trying to do is make it harder for consumers, for customers, for ratepayers to tap into clean energy. Ohio has some of the worst net metering laws in North America. In Arizona, there's a big fight going on. In Colorado, the people just won a big fight. In Wisconsin, there's a big fight just starting. In Illinois and Minnesota, there's a big fight starting. What's happening in all those fights is the utility wants a deal as good as what they already have here in Ohio. We're not on the news because we're already in a tough situation. Pure net metering is a fantastic deal where you can spin the meter backwards and rack up credits in the summer, use them in the winter. That's pure net metering. Retail rate. I make a credit in the summer, it's worth 12 cents. I use that credit in the winter, it's worth 12 cents. In Ohio, the net metering that we have here, I would call net excess generation, NEG. If I make more power in July than I use, which is a typical thing if a customer wants to have a significant solar array, the net excess, instead of carrying over to the next month at the full retail rate, 14 cents or whatever it is, I actually get credited at the avoided cost in pennies, about 5 cents. If I've actually gone out onto the market and started buying my power from a Crest provider, and in fact, that's one of the things that's wrong with the SOPEC that we're trying to get fixed, is right now, SOPEC and our aggregation rules are set up basically to follow the Crest laws. So that's part of the deregulation under Strickland in 2008, and then the First Energy and Duke and Brand X and Brand Y, these people that call you and send you junk mail saying, buy our power. Those are competitive energy. If you have signed up with one of those, you basically give away your power, your net excess generation. You are not entitled to any compensation for it at all. So that's why when we design a system, we're very careful to work with our clients, look at their utility bill, and size the system exactly based on their wishes for their usage patterns. And some people say, it's not about the economics, that's important, but secondary, my goal is to be net zero. Great, we can do that. On an annual basis, your choice to be net zero is making your economics a little bit less attractive by this amount. If they say, hey, I want to do the green thing, but this is my retirement money, this is my savings, I want to be as efficient as possible, we might say, based on your usage patterns, we're going to give you 62% of your energy from the sun, based on not giving away power through net excess generation. So it makes our world a lot more complicated. And it also makes the economics harder for someone to go 100%. That we fought against and lost is an example of this. The Koch brothers, Americans for Prosperity, money coming in, sickens me, wraps itself in the American flag and says, we're for free markets and we're libertarian values and we want competition and we're defending a monopoly.
Yeah, right.
The fact that they can say that shows that we're not very smart.
We're not educated.
And we're not empowered and we're not using our votes and our buying power as effectively as we will be as you all go out and proselytize. Another major trend here is grid parity. These are different solar technologies. This is 2006. This is the price. This is basically how much it costs to make a kilowatt hour of energy. And it's dropping, dropping, dropping. This is where it's projected to be in 2020. And this is without subsidies from Arizona to Alaska. So right now in 2014, we can make power at about 13, 14 cents per kilowatt hour. This hard to read dotted line are growth rates for ground power, for grid power. Averages around 7 cents, comes up to around 10 cents, crosses over around 14, 15, and should be 20 to 25 cents. Where these lines cross is where we have grid parity, where solar power is less expensive than brown power. How many people want to guess when we're going to hit that magic time?
Right now.
Right here in Ohio.
Yeah, it looks like right now.
It's like happened last December or something.
We're there. We're there. That's the surprise. How many people think that if you went up and down your street and asked, is solar power more expensive or less expensive than grid power? No one. The people don't know it. The rational logic of your average Jane or Joe is that if solar power were cheaper than brown power, I'd drive down this road and everyone would have solar power, right? People will make rational consumer choices based on economics. Supposedly, maybe, kind of, sometimes. So that makes it harder for people to believe this, because we don't see it everywhere. We see Village Bakery doing it in a big way, highly visible, but we can kind of say, yeah, but you know, those tree huggers, they're buying organic flour, and we know that costs more, and they're paying their workers a living wage, you know, damn commies. So we can discount that stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've got to get the message out that today, right now, in Ohio, for you and you and you and you, solar power is less expensive than brown power.
On your monthly electric bill, they will every now and then put on this little chart that they give for information of where their power comes from. Coal, gas, or wind is listed, but sun is always said negligible.
Less than 0.5%. Too small to measure.
That's what they say.
It's the truth. That's Ohio right now. The answer is negligible. Ohio is the 5th largest energy consumer in the nation. We're up there: California, Texas, Florida, New York, Ohio. We are up there because of population. We're up there because of industry. We use a lot. In Hawaii, that same chart on a utility bill would probably say solar is up to around 6%. So it's starting to get there. In Kansas, wind is like 120%. There's like 12 people that live in that state. But they've got a lot of wind, and so they sell it and they put it on the grid. In fact, we've got Kansas wind coming over here, and it's being blended with other stuff and being sold as green energy here. If this was really true, why isn't everybody doing it? We've got a room full of solar advocates, clean energy advocates, true believers, and I could take a poll and I could guess that most people's answer would be, I want to, but I don't have $25,000 or $12,000. Plenty of people that I don't have a roof, I'm a renter. But the biggest answer of why don't people go solar is they're used to a utility model where the power comes out of the plug every month and they get a bill every month. And I pay $28 or I pay $280, but it's a monthly bill. No one asked you to please go build a coal-fired central power plant and an infrastructure to deliver it and then hire a bunch of people to maintain it. You're not being asked to build your own power plant. For years and years with solar, that's what we're asking you to do. Hey, I'm glad you're interested in clean energy. Let's go solar. I'd like you to build your own power plant. I'd like you to prepay for 30 plus years of power, even though you're used to paying every month for the power that you use. So that disconnect is the main reason why folks haven't gone solar, even though it's less expensive. We form utility energy finance. You can go to a customer and say, I don't want you to build and own a big power plant on your roof and write a $23,000 check. For a lot of people, they'd rather write a check every month. So when we can blend solar with long-term financing and have the payments match the energy usage, it's less expensive to go solar right now. Ford and Chevy years ago became banks that sell cars. You're shopping for a car and they're selling you a payment. It's $24.99 a month. Not everybody operates that way. That's the way a lot of people operate.
I've often wondered what the price of the car is. You don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about that small little number down there. $249. Does that fit your lifestyle? In lots of larger markets like California, for example, they've got, believe it or not, conservative, Republican, global warming deniers going solar just to save money. And I don't really care. That's great. We need everybody to go solar that potentially could.
Why doesn't the electric company appreciate they don't have to build more plants?
They don't get to build more plants because we're doing it instead of them. They're on their heels, their world's changing. You know, this happened with telephones. For years and years, AT&T had a monopoly on the phone business and actually owned the phone that was on your wall. That was their property. If you connected a private phone, chaos would ensue. The world would fall apart. They lived like that and used those arguments for years and years. Finally, the monopoly was broken up, and we've got the world's supercomputers in our pockets. And they also take pictures. You can even talk on the phone with them. It's amazing the innovation that's happened because of breaking up with that monopoly. That hasn't happened yet on a large scale with utilities. We're in the midst of it right now. They say that if Edison, Tesla, and Westinghouse walked around today, they would be able to identify every part of the utility grid. 90% of the utility grid is the same as it's been for 100 years. If Marconi and Alexander Graham Bell came up on the earth and you showed them one of these, their minds would be blown. Bytes and digits and Wi-Fi and all that stuff. So that's the innovation that we're going to be having over our lifetime right now.
Would it be fair to say that another obstacle to solar being more common use is the uncertainty about grid-tied systems created by the utilities? People that have said, we installed a solar system and we can't get it connected.
It's way more confusing than it should be. If it were up to me, the utilities would be making it easy and having a nice guided path, but really, it's not in their best interest to do that. They're doing whatever they have to do because of regulation, and in fact, they're dragging their feet and making it harder. That's one of the reasons why companies like ours exist. One of our core values is we make solar easy. What we should say is we make a very uneasy process as easy as possible by knowing the rules and regulations and doing all the steps, filling out the paperwork. It's not just about bolting these up onto your roof in a way that doesn't leak. It's a lot of paper. The system equipment prices have gone down significantly, but the soft costs, the cost of educating people, walking them through their options, helping them select what option's best for them, of permitting, getting the system approved, dealing with the utility, dealing with the electrical inspection, all that stuff is becoming bigger and bigger. And so there's lots of efforts. The Department of Energy is focused on helping to reduce the soft costs. The hard costs have come down significantly. A lot of that's just simply economies of scale. Some of it's technology, but the soft costs are now a factor that we're working carefully and quickly as possible to reduce, to make solar that much more attractive to folks. So boom! So there's the good news. We've got clean energy, we've got jobs. In the past, you want to save for a rainy day, you're not going to work forever. You got to basically figure out how you're going to pay for groceries when you're 87. It might not be all Social Security. You've got a retirement fund. You've got investments. You're going to put some money away and try to beat inflation. So investment opportunity is a pretty interesting part of this. Clean energy is not only a great technology, it's also a great investment opportunity. So this chart is basically 2000 to 2013, the amount of solar installed per year. Can you see that? And 14 is up there.
Wow.
14 is more than 6 megawatts. The 2013 was 4.75. And then I think 2015 is on track to be about 9.5. And then for every time we get more and more installed, that means that the factories that make this equipment, the companies that install them, we all get better, faster, cheaper. So economists, again, this has got the utilities really scratching their head. Some of them are actually saying, you know what? Instead of betting everything on being a buggy whip manufacturer and poo-pooing these newfangled horseless carriages, I might actually decide that maybe it'd be in our best interest to get into the horseless carriage world. A lot of the European utilities have moved in this direction, and of course a lot of businesses are global now, so they're active in North America. And then one utility, NRG, historically a huge natural gas and fossil fuel and nuclear utility, is going big into solar and is betting everything on it and talking it up and calling their colleagues on the shenanigans that they're doing. It's interesting to watch how that happens. Whether or not a big, huge utility is able to become a nimble, fast, high-tech business, that's another question mark. You need everybody's help. So the other piece on this chart is the weighted average cost of a system. We're down here in 2013 at $2.75 per watt. It's kind of like a square foot price on a house. We typically can take a large system and a small system, and talk about their costs as a per watt basis. So right now we're installing systems that 5 years ago would have been $7 per watt. We're putting them in at below $2 a watt. The price has come down, and you can see that right here when it's gone up is where that price comes down. And a lot of it is economies of scale.
But the less than $2 a watt, is that residential or the big scale stuff?
I think we've done a couple large jobs at under $2 a watt. Yeah.
No.
Our mission is to accelerate the shift to clean energy and bring down the cost is a big part of it. When you did your phase 1 and your phase 2, it was almost half for the same size systems. People say, hey, does that mean I should wait? So the answer is probably not, because the amount of power that you're going to miss out on while you're waiting is pretty significant.
Rebates run out?
Timing is difficult. Our SRECs, our solar renewable energy credits, and this is a mechanism put in place by Governor Strickland to basically tell the utilities, you either have to build your own solar power plants or you can incentivize private solar power plants to be built. And that's typically what they prefer to do. And they'll say, hey, if you build a plant, I'll give you an extra 3 cents per every kilowatt. You save your electricity, you get your 5 cents or 20 cents or whatever it is, and on top of that, I'll give you 3 more cents. That's a solar renewable energy credit, an SREC. Those are scheduled to go down. The concept being that back in 2008, solar systems were very expensive. We're going to need a larger subsidy to encourage people to make them cost effective. And then it's scheduled to go down and down and down until 2025, where it zeroes out. The big one, though, is that 30% federal tax credit. Right now, you do a system, it's a $10,000 system, it's really a $7,000 system, and you get $3,000 off on your taxes that year. Fantastic subsidy, just like with the electric cars, those have gone away, but it's made to give people that extra nudge to move in this direction. That will go away at the end of 2016. We're fighting for it, but knowing what I know about politics and about Congress right now, I'm going to bet everything with any of you that system's not, that tax credit's going to go away. The good news is that we don't need it anymore. Again, that's happening, the utility debt spiral is happening, we're going to live without that tax credit. But it's going to be a really busy 2016. We're going to start saying no to people probably about halfway through 2016 because the system has to be done online and switch thrown. As you all are experiencing, there's bureaucracy and you might do everything as fast as you can, but you're still tied to the paperwork, bureaucracy out of your control with permits and such. So really the true deadline to decide to go solar or not to take advantage of this well before the end of 2016. So I talked about people, planet, profit. I truly believe that if we wait around for the government to help us, we're going to be waiting a long time. If we can fix campaign finance reform, we might have a functional government once more where people will do things based on a rational, but in my opinion, good people go to Washington or Columbus and immediately are forced to start running for re-election and forced to play in this broken system and spend more time asking for donations than crafting legislation. And so I'm pretty pessimistic, if you haven't noticed, about government solutions. I think that there's nonprofits and .orgs and all sorts of great organizations that are doing a good job of largely getting the word out, educating, promoting, spreading the good news, spreading the facts, sometimes advocating, and in many cases, actually organizing people into purchasing cooperatives, solarized concepts. There's lots of neat things being done, but I think that business doesn't have to be a dirty word. I think it's too often is a dirty word, but I'm showing hopefully that there's lots of good businesses that can harness that classic forces of the market without squashing people and the planet on the way to where they're going. Another big phenomenon is the crowdfunding. So Kickstarter, Indiegogo, we've been watching this happen. The Jobs Act was one of Obama's first campaign pledges that he delivered on, but the SEC and the IRS are dragging their feet on enabling legislation. We're not waiting for it though. So we're going to do things. Remember how I talked about investment? We actually see that there's a huge demand of folks that want to take their money out of dirty energy and put it into local clean energy. And in fact, they want to fund their retirement too. It's a retirement fund, it's an investment, they want a return. We can hit both with crowdfunding. So Utility Energy Finance is right now working with our lawyers on doing what's called a crowdfund solar model, where people in Athens will be able to invest in Athens solar projects for a return and have a nice debt-like return. Most investments are you invest and nothing happens, and then the company goes public and you get 10 times more money back, or you lose all your money. We think that that's probably a good way for some people, venture capitalists and some hedge fund folks, to invest. We think it's going to be much more popular and fair and rational to be more like a mortgage, where you invest and then you get a nice amortized return over 20 years, almost like a bond fund. And that's a good fit for solar, because solar, we build that solar power plant and then we get the energy generated on a regular, reliable basis. Stay tuned, we'll be promoting it and announcing it and networking like crazy. I think there's a lot of people that want to be able to say, I don't want to invest in some mutual fund on Wall Street, but I don't know where the money is. I'd much rather invest in my neighbors putting solar up on their building. Divestment, it's pretty exciting what's going on with the students. One of the reasons why apartheid fell in South Africa was student pressure, and was the divestment movement, the anti-apartheid movement. My dad got to meet Bishop Desmond Tutu, who said that he is as excited about this student movement and divestment and energy justice as he was about what happened with South Africa. Support that when it comes to campus, advocate for that. And it's not just the right thing to do from a moral and ethical perspective, it's actually a pretty savvy thing to do if you think about it. I'd much rather have my money in a lot of different investments and rather than owning shares of Murray Coal. I think that those shares are going to be orphaned and Murray Coal's going to go bankrupt, and your investment in Murray Coal is probably not a good one. There's a reason why we're all doing this. I think it's self-interest. I think I'm a selfish person where I want clean air and a habitable planet for myself and my offspring. And I think that more and more people are waking up to connect the dots and doing this and having their long-term self-interest and community interest kind of trump their short-term selfishness. This is contact information, thirdsunsolar.com, 1-877-OWN-SOLAR. It's easy to remember. It's more than 7 numbers. You don't have to dial the R. And that is our mission. We started our company, and our company is a mission-driven company, and our mission is to accelerate the shift to clean energy. Not to install solar on someone's house as nicely as possible. Really, we want to accelerate that transition. And so I'd appreciate it if you all spread the word and told people the lessons that I shared here, especially the fact that solar is here now. It's not a someday technology, it's a today technology. It's not someday economics, it's right now economics. We've got a solarized program going on right here in Athens. So there's power in numbers, there's sustainability in numbers, there's savings in numbers. This is a school of fish. It's hard to see the graphic. It's a cool school of fish. The concept is that if we can do more installs all together in one period of time, we can save money. We pass the savings along to the customers, A, and B, if I'm out there saying, hey, have you considered solar? Go solar. Solar's awesome. A lot of consumers say, Jeff, you're a nice guy, but you're trying to sell me something. When we have one of our customers or someone with solar saying, believe it or not, this stuff's awesome. Solar's awesome. Or someone who's already done a lot of research and has decided they're going to do solar on her roof or his roof. And they're talking to their neighbors, even the neighbor who's a hardcore Republican. I'd love to get more hardcore Republicans. We need them to go solar. We need them to start shaking up their party line. We want people on the streets that are basically saying, hey, she went solar. You know, how's that working for you? Oh, it's awesome. I can show you the math on my bills. So we want people to tell people to people. This viral phenomenon is going to be much more effective than any advertising or education that a business could do. So Q&A and discussion, if there's time for that. Great.
You did, I think changing point for me was realize no money down because you'd be financed if you qualify, which is a game changer for.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah,
Most people don't go to the car dealership with $35,000 basket of money.
The project at the landfill or in Albany, and I'm not sure about what that is.
As part of the Athens aggregation, the city and the county and SOPEC put out in their RFP, we're interested in local renewables. It's an open, proposal. We want less expensive power through the aggregation, but we also want local renewables. So I approached 6 people that I knew were going to be bidding on this, and Power Energies was one of the organizations that I approached. And I said, hey, we do solar, we'd like to do solar, we got some ideas about solar. And so they wrote us into their proposal and said, hey, we're going to do this, and in fact, we're going to have a project in Athens. We got access to the landfill, the 691 landfill, the old closed landfill. So we've got free land from the county on that landfill that they're not doing anything with but mowing. We're basically 3 megawatt project together. It's about 8 acres with a solar, a large project. It's a
small solar farm.
Exactly, it's a solar farm that will be part of the energy that goes into everybody who's part of the SOPEC aggregation will have a portion of their energy from solar. There's also, I think 25% of the energy is wind. And it's cheaper than doing nothing, which the folks that are in a trailer and maybe they're living hand to mouth and they're not spending money on luxuries like clean energy, they're still saving money. So it makes sense for them as well. Yeah, I think we'll probably end up having more information about that later because there's a lot of questions about it. There's another piece of land in Albany that we're looking at. It's less expensive to build on flat land where you can dig into the ground. At the landfill, because it's a capped landfill, we can't dig into the ground. So it's more expensive there. In a perfect world, we get to do both sites.
You worked with those solar panels that I've read about recently that you can actually grow food underneath them. So they're kind of, I don't know how that works, but they're translucent.
No, we've not directly worked with anything like that. I am aware of some cool concepts, just like a wind farmer or a farm with wind on it can graze or grow crops underneath their wind generators. There are solar arrays where instead of being as close together as possible, they spread them out a little bit more, they put them a little bit higher, and they make sure that the goats can't eat the wiring, and they'll graze goats, chickens, sheep underneath them. I think in India there's actually solar farms with actual row crops underneath, but we don't have any personal experience with that stuff yet. Cool concept though.
Can I just make sure I understand the last point you were talking about? Right now, if we sign up for solar by April 22nd, all the people that sign up, even if they're not in the same local proximity, they still get a discount because they're signing up in this time frame?
No, not all the people. So it is clusters. So a group around a neighborhood in Cincinnati, it's by that. So it's within 15 miles. We actually have decided for Athens, it's basically everyone within the county. And in fact, if you're out of the county, you can kind of make an argument that you're close enough. So you can actually call and find out exactly how many people are signed up. So for Athens, it's just everybody within the Athens metro, greater Athens area.
But part of the idea would be to get your neighbors to do it too.
Yeah, that's the strength in numbers is kind of the concept there.
And you're willing to go as far as Washington County?
No, you all have to suffer. The good news would be hopefully we'll get some critical mass and there'd be 4 or 5 people in Washington County. We did the Belpre Mayor's office, for goodness sakes. It's good enough for the mayor. It's good enough for the citizens. The logic is where we're together doing permits all at once, doing our truck runs all at once. There's some savings there. Yes?
You go to Morgan County?
Yeah. In fact, Morgan County line depends on where in Morgan County you are, but we consider some of Morgan County part of Athens. Don't tell the Morgan County that.
But if it's not close to the line, you would.
Yeah, we'll look at specific addresses and kind of make the call.
Again, I think he would be interested in a group. If there's a group in a given
For the
area.
savings, but
Yeah.
as far as just an installation.
Oh, no, we're statewide for residential,
Oh.
as well as northern Kentucky. Southern Michigan, and Pittsburgh. So our resident, we're a licensed electrician in all those states, and we serve all those states, and then commercial we go, fortunately, because Ohio is a crappy commercial systems right now. Residential in Ohio is pretty good, commercial in Ohio is tough, so we travel quite a bit to get jobs done.
Does your company do solar thermal as well, or just power?
Yeah, we used to do wind. I had wind at my house, and we used to do solar thermal, and in both cases, there came a point where the cost effectiveness of it went that solar, right now, unless you're a laundromat or a car wash or something using a lot of hot water, it's more cost effective and more reliable for you to install solar electric and a super high efficiency water tank. Believe it or not. It used to, and there's still conventional wisdom that solar thermal is more efficient than solar electric, but that's basically become false because of the price change in solar electric.
Don't get into it. It's kind of like this.